Hey, good morning. There's Frankie. He's turned his back on me. He's getting better at not bugging me through um, my little chit chats and while I'm putting on makeup. It's been a busy morning. Took the dogs out, and can you see how gray it is outside? Gray, and it's misty, then it'll rain, then it'll mist and dry up. Anyway, I just wanted to get on and say hi, see if anyone was out there today. I'm using my favorite chipped mug, so I can share that. I have a memory about a chipped vase. It was a nice big sized one. It was clay, and it had streamy. There was a while there where when things were marbled, people were marbling pots and planters with paint. I got this pot from a place I worked at. The previous counselor, I was doing inpatient with women's inpatient. They get out of jail or they're going through drug court, mostly out of jail and drug court. And they come to the home and live there. Oh, hi, Anna. I'm so glad you could make it. Yay. And so as counselors, we would help teach them, better ways of communicating and keep an eye on them, make sure they were safe, not getting into trouble, make sure they weren't getting loaded. Anyway, this beautiful clay pot was in there, and it had a chip in it like that, a nice good sized chip out of the top, and then it also had a crack down the side, so you couldn't use it for anything or it would break. But I kept that vase forever. Matter of fact, I can't believe I must have left it in my office when I sold my office up north, because I really love that vase. But it looked beautiful with my leather sofas and bookshelves and books, old carpets. It was a beautiful office, honestly. I loved it. Sometimes I miss it just because it was so familiar for so long, and because of the smell. It was in a 1920s corner office building, one of the few skyscrapers in Galesburg, Illinois. Skyscraper, like 7 levels maybe. Anyway, I loved that vase because it reminded me of the old story, and some of the marbling was done in a way it really reminded me of the story of where there's a culture where they use gold to mend cracks and breaks. And I think of that when I would see that vase. I think about how cracks and breaks, heartaches, challenges can also be so valuable. The gold. I don't know. You'd have to Google the story. I wish I could remember where it came from, where the story came from. I never really, I like history, but I don't delve into it like I did when I was younger, because so much history gets disproven or exaggerated. And I do that enough on my own. Right. Oh, speaking of that, I'm getting to know my neighbor. Yay! We had such a sweet talk this morning. I'm so glad. That was nice. So I want to go get back, because there's no segue. That was just a thought, because I look out my window and I see that damn flag. Anyway, I have a confession to make. She told me she was going to be out of town a few days ago. And so yesterday I went over there because she was supposed to be gone. And I didn't get caught. So I'm just going to take out the anxiety. Because just telling the story gives me anxiety. So I went over there just to see how it was fastened. I shouldn't even admit this. But anyway, I found out because part of me thought, if it's possible, I wonder if I could change that flag for her as a nice surprise. And then as I was doing it, I remembered y'all and decided to mind my own damn business, and I came back home. I know, I was tempted. Ugh, it's that. I'm not OCD, but every once in a while something will hit me. But, it just depends. Like, I retired after 21 years in the Air National Guard, and I retired as the first sergeant. And so very rules orientated, right? And as military, there are rules about flags. So I'm confessing to you about my problem. I have a problem. I can't believe I was in the military so long. It was hard. I'm just gonna be honest with you. Just gonna be honest with you. It's the truth. What I wanted to talk to you today was about, because when I saw my cup, I thought about that vase. I hadn't thought about that for a while. And I was thinking about how misunderstood some people's cracks or breaks are. I know, it is. The flag is a freaking challenge for me, and I am going to win over the challenge. I'm going to leave it alone. I am promising myself. I gotta quit looking out the damn window. Sorry. You're right. Thank you, Anna. You're so wise. That I kind of must have known that in my head, because as soon as I read what you wrote, I'm like, that's it. You're right. That's it. Oh my God. You made my day already. So do you get what I'm talking about with when we have these quirks, even not just breaks. I won't. I'm not gonna look out the window again. No, I have too many things I'm gonna do today. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna pull this. I'm just gonna quit antagonizing myself like kid in a candy store. There we go. Can't even see it. I see the roof of her house now. Can't even see that flagpole. Thank you. Done. But I do have to put on some makeup because it's a Saturday and I am off. I'm caught up on my paperwork. So now, hi Diana. Nice. Glad you could join us. Anna and I have already been curing some of a personality flaw that I have. You can probably go back and watch it later. But I was going to talk about this vase with the cracks in it that gets mended with gold. It's I don't know the rest of the history of it, but it always, when I first heard about the story, it touched my heart so deeply about how, well, honestly, it was almost said perfectly in a couple of the comments that I have not written back to, about how, using me for an example, some of the heartaches that I've gone through as a child and growing up, all the deep, deep disappointments. And then to find out that if it weren't for those things happening, there might not have been some of the beautiful connections that I've had with clients to help them find their way. And, oh, and have a wonderful time with your friends. That sounds so great. Yeah, I'll post it as soon as I get a chance, because on the lives, if you go to the tab that says live, you'll be able to see it. And probably within a day or two. I don't think it posts right away. I'm not sure, but it might. I'm still learning the ins and out, but have a blast. I'll miss you for the rest of the conversation. Be safe. Have fun. Mwah. See you later. So I'm going to talk about how our wounds help us and how complicated the help sometimes gets along the journey. For instance, there's, oh, right, that's an idea. That is an idea. Huh. My mind just went to a place where I was given some thought to getting a flagpole. They have a nice flagpole over there. We don't have a flagpole at our house when we moved in. And they're kind of expensive to put in because they have to dig a hole, put concrete in, and you have to buy that steel post and the attachments and all that. But we tried hanging one out on a pole on our front house, and our house just isn't designed for it. I mean, we've tried it several times over the years, and there's no real placement in the front of our house that works. So I'm going to write that down on my list about what it would cost these days. And you might be able to get a flagpole fairly affordable now when people are struggling financially. I don't know. Maybe there's one for sale somewhere and then just have the hole in concrete. I don't know. We'll look into it. Interesting. Oh. So I was thinking about, well, wait a minute. Do you have a topic you want to talk about? Because I was going to talk about healing from trauma and neural pathways. That might be boring to some people. I find it fascinating. So I get all excited. But that doesn't mean you would be. So if there's something you want to talk about, please interrupt. Will not be offensive. I was just going to say that sometimes, you know how, if you've ever had trauma, one of the biggest deals is, and you don't have to have PTSD or anything, but one of the biggest issues is that there can be this rumination. Still one of my favorites for natural everyday. Yep. Just blends so nice. Oh, if I have to get off here fast, it's because someone is coming in and I thought I had more time. So I'm sorry if I have to do that. But anyway, I was going to say that the brain is designed to help us, not make us happy. Oh, you did? It is fun, isn't it? New makeup is so fun. Let me know what you bought and what you like about it. If you don't do it right now, you can do it later after I'm off of here. I would love to see it in the Chitchat, or what do you call it? The comment section. Anyway, I'm going to try a little bit of this. I haven't done that for a while. Just a little bit. I think that's fun. I don't know if it's really going to do much, but Doesn't usually, but I will not give up. I keep saying, I'm not going to do that again, but I do. Anyway, because our brain is designed to help us, not make us happy, that's important. So the brain is designed that if something made a big imprint, our brain is supposed to help us be alarmed. It's supposed to. So if you hear, like, for years, I was startled. My startle effect was really high. So if somebody was standing in a position that I wouldn't expect, it would startle me. And if somebody was walking really quiet, it would make me so angry because I'd think they were trying to be sneaky. It would just hit my brain like that. Like, why are you being so quiet, walking up like that behind me? They weren't like maybe sneaking, but they had very soft footsteps. Matter of fact, I broke up with a guy for that. I know, and he was a really nice guy, but I was still so self-centered, and my therapy just didn't get to the place where I could understand that my trauma was not helping me look at things clear. So yeah, I can relate to it. If there's some people out there who've had real relationship problems because of their trauma, I can tell you, it's still in normal range. People don't talk about it, but it's true. That's true. Anyway, so your brain says, I'm going to help you because your reaction was so important. I'm going to make a map that helps the neural pathways get from getting scared or recognizing the stimuli, seeing someone just standing there, and going, oh, you scared me, right? So your brain says, oh, someone's standing there. And oh, it says someone's standing there. And then the map says, behave like this. And then take this long to wind down or pick a fight or whatever. So every behavior is because of a neural pathway. Brain is not there to make you happy or sad. It's there to help you. So if, and this is what helped me in my journey, and this is what I try to convince clients of, is if you want to heal from trauma, you have to try. You have to work at it. Now you're making me want to buy new makeup. Anyway, I've had so much fun working with people and showing them even just a baby step on neural pathway healing. It's so fun, it's so rewarding to see that light come on, because here's all these cracks in this beautiful vase that now the cracks are ready for the work. And then the work makes it beautiful, right? Especially if they're still in a relationship. You know, some people hang on in relationships even though they're being abused. And usually, well, not usually, but often, the abused becomes an abuser. So sometimes when the person who's been abused all this time with this verbal outlash will will act out once they feel safe and go, well, you were mean to me for a long time, now I'm going to be mean to you, because they're not used to being calm. Their neural pathways got set up to be defensive, right? So as we retrain our brain to see something, it might startle us, but then it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm just startled. This was a safe person. This was a safe situation. I'm fine. Each time wisdom happens, we're able to recuperate quicker. I got messy with my lipstick. There we go. So it's wonderful to be able to get startled, for instance, and not get triggered to go all the way. This really is a nice little lip gloss from Wet n Wild. Just look for the white tube lips. Isn't that adorable? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to put on a little powder because my skin is not as dry as it was. Remember when I was complaining about how dry my skin is? Well, I finally got it under control. And, darn it, part of the reason I think it got under control is I quit using Retin-A. When it's a dry cold or a dry heat, which doesn't hardly happen in my lifetime, my skin is sensitive to it. It doesn't matter how much water I drink. I have been counseling with people since '92. But I was counseling people since I was a child, like Peanuts, Snoopy, you know, Lucy that has that 5-cent psychiatrist or psychotherapist. I've just always had it in my blood. But I started getting, instead of just doing it because it was my nature to help people, in '92, I think it was, I really got involved in counseling with hospice, counselor milieu kind of thing back then. That counseling registration was important back then, but not licensure. As the years went on, I got more and more accreditations and degrees. Yeah, hurt people hurt people. Good question. Here's what it is. It's not necessarily revenge. I want to make sure I'm reading that right. So is it true that hurt people hurt people? Is it revenge? If a person's a psychopath or high on the narcissistic scale, it can be revenge or pure entertainment. Because they're very self-centered. And they're driven to hurt people because it's entertaining. And revenge just gives them that extra sassiness to go forward with that. There are a lot of people who have been from such dysfunction in their childhood that they're running on adrenaline and cortisol. And then there's, every time you win an argument, there's another layer of brain chemicals like endorphins that says, oh, this feels good, right? So it feels good to win a fight for a change, you know, when you come from such injury. So they get triggered because they get scared. For instance, I worked with someone I still love as a brother. We worked together for years in a warehouse. I was afraid to quit my day job, even though my counseling endeavors were doing really well. I grew up poor, therefore I was working 2 or 3 jobs all the time, starting a business, having a business, keeping a full-time job, an extra little part-time job here. I was exhausted all the time. I was single for a long time after, in between my last marriage and this marriage, I was single, living alone for, well, dating. I'm sorry, not single. I was dating, but lived absolutely alone for 17, 18 years. Except one time when I was recovering from surgery, and I stayed with a boyfriend for a couple months. It was major foot surgery. So I was really stressed, single, lonely, overworked, and he walked very quiet. And I would look, and there he'd be standing. Well, he thought that was funny, so he started doing it on purpose. When he started doing it on purpose, I was offended. So when it happened, and I knew he did it on purpose, and I'd go, oh, react. And then he would laugh, or he goes, oh, got ya. And this only happened twice in my life. But this is one of the times when I've really lost my temper. The first time I was like, stop doing that. Don't ever do that again. I hate that. Oh my God, you're going to give me a heart attack. I mean, I just really reacted. Well, the next time he did it, the devil came out of me. I told you not to ever do that again. I can't even, I don't want to really imitate it because it was so ugly. I don't even want to make my face or voice do that. But oh my God, if you could think of some kind of ridiculous soap opera behavior, that's what I did. And then I told him that if he ever did it again, I was going to report him for harassment. And I did this to a dear friend. I forgot who he was. My brain chemicals overtook. So the way I treated him wasn't out of revenge. It was, even how nasty I was, it could have looked evil, but it wasn't out of revenge. It was out of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It was out of fight. And that's how I knew I needed to start therapy again, whether I was busy with lots of jobs or not. Now, there are some people who are on the victim side of it, and what happens is their brain, and this is such a shame, I kind of giggle because I know how it is. I've been on both sides of the spectrum. I have also been a victim of emotional and verbal abuse that was, looking back on it, it's so embarrassing. Or it used to be. But there are a lot of people who need help. That's why they get into therapy. I mean, I got into the heavy education part because of my issues, not because I wanted to be a better therapist. Not initially. So what happens with victims is, once their person who's been their victimizer gets help, their brain map is so set up to respond to the cycle of rage, cycle of anger, cycle of domestic violence, the honeymoon stage, the anxiety stage, the build-up stage, the fight, the numbness, and all these other emotions, and then the makeup stage, and then the honeymoon stage again. So they're used to, their mind map is on that kind of program. Now, when the person who's a perpetrator, or the primary client, starts healing and getting better and not lashing out as much, what happens is then the person who's been having to to deal with all of this, that's why it's so good to get both in counseling at the same time. I can tell you that Codependence Anonymous is amazing for people who go through this kind of thing. It can really help. If you don't want to go to a therapist, you can do these online. And you don't even have to show yourself, I think, in most meetings. Some meetings you can't be in it unless you show yourself because they don't want intruders. But most of them are pretty open. So anyway, what happens is they get so mad that their partner's getting better and hasn't apologized enough. So their mind map can't just change overnight. Their mind map is still looking for that cycle. And so to get back into the cycle, the victim has to overpower the original perpetrator and becomes the perpetrator, because they're trying to get their anxiety level. Their brain is now craving what it is used to having. Right? Does that kind of make sense? Kind of like when you're addicted to sugar. You're like, wow, I'm so glad I'm cutting back on sugar. I'm so glad. Because it's not good for me. Duh, feeds cancer. It doesn't matter how good it tastes, it feeds cancer. But then after you're off sugar, a couple days, couple weeks, whatever, couple months even, for some people have a lot of self-discipline. But there's a point where most people will have what's called a rebound effect. Throwing that boomerang, you're doing really good, and then it comes back. So that means that when it comes back, sometimes it hits really hard, like a rubber band snapping. It's a rebound effect. Happens with opiates, happens with sugar cravings. It happens with cravings, period. But opiates are a good one because your body even, and benzodiazepines, lots of drugs, alcohol, where when you are used to having a certain drug in your system, your body might feel good and be healing for a little while, but then your body says, where is it? Give it to me. Stop messing with me, basically, and throws a big old temper tantrum. Well, that's what the victim of domestic violence, or, you know, however, whether it's a relationship or a parent even. There are children of parents who go through the same thing, and that's why Al-Anon's good too, is their mother or father will get better, and now this kid is so mad that they're revengeful. Like, screw you, I'm going out. Screw you, I'll get pregnant and get out of this house. Or whatever, you know? Or don't tell me who to hang out with, and then go gangsta. Yeah, it's very common, very common. And get ugly, fight. It's a family disease. But most people don't get revengeful unless, I don't think I was ever revengeful unless, I mean, I think it looked revengeful. For as long as the argument lasted, because forked tongue, forked tongues can be very powerful. Darn it. But yeah, I wouldn't say revenge. There are people who are narcissistic, though. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different story. If someone's being revengeful, I guess there are people who are revengeful. I haven't worked with a lot of people who are revengeful. People usually who get lied and cheated on, by the time they make it into counseling, they're not revengeful anymore. They are sad, angry, but they're not trying to make the other person. I mean, the worst thing I've seen really is someone going out with somebody else to make them jealous. And that was revenge. But oh, I have heard of people going on social media. Now, see that kind of young people I don't work with that are doing the social media stuff. I think that's kind of in a whole nother world for me. I usually work with people who are in the normal average range or are really facing life's biggies like death, like love, brokenheartedness, wanting to recover from PTSD, childhood trauma. I don't work with narcissists for long once I recognize that they are a narcissist, because someone who's a true narcissist is kind of like how some people go to prison and they come out being a better criminal, right? I'm not in the business of teaching narcissists how to be a better narcissist. That's, I think I made that mistake one time. I didn't believe that this person was a narcissist. I thought they were misunderstood and had childhood trauma, but that wasn't the case. And I was able to use books and education on human behavior. That was let me close this door. And I'll always be sorry for that. But it was someone who was low on the narcissistic scale as far as evil level goes. And most people are. But you want to know how to you want to know how to tell if someone's a narcissist? I'll tell you, it's pretty easy. So true that hurt people. Okay, thank you. So sad. It is sad, but that's why it's important for people who are going through some of this stuff to hit a place of almost like a spiritual awakening or some kind of enlightenment or self-awareness. Sometimes through enough heartbreak and disappointment, like me, each time I got to a new level, I got to where I kind of rested on my laurels too long and would overwork again. One of my addictions. Well, it used to be. Not anymore. I think I pretty much have that one under control. Sometimes you age out a certain behavior. That's the truth too. So where was I going? I was going to tell you something else too. Oh, the determination. So there's a book called by Patricia Theo, Thoele. If you're interested in experimenting with recovering from trauma, or you know someone who is, she wrote a very loving book. And I think, I don't know how I got turned on to that book. I just remember I used to be a book hog. I had walls lined up with books and music and things like that. And I just loved the smell of books. But anyway, I came across this book by her. It's called The Courage to Be Yourself. Now, it was written so long ago. Gosh, 80s or 90s. So, of course, every self-help book in the world was written for women. So, but I have prescribed it to men and women alike and said, just change the words. Just like if you're going to suggest a book written by Christians, sometimes you just have to kind of take the God stuff out of it, but keep reading. You know, it's listen to the message, not necessarily the messenger. And then sometimes, after a while, the messenger becomes trustworthy. That's kind of how I've seen it in my office, anyway. So she talks about one of the ways to help change the neural pathways, in that it's a way for your body to release the old messages from the brain. The deal is, and Peter Levine, I think, is the one who did a lot of work on, there for a while I read so many books, I get authors mixed up, so I'm sorry. But if you like to read, he has some really good stuff. But there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score. So forgive me if I have the author wrong. It's a long read. It's worth it. I got it on CD and listened to it in my car because I had an hour-long drive back and forth. I tried reading it, but it's a little dry for me to read it because it wasn't, I don't know. It was just easier to listen to it. So that might be an option for you. But she has a short book that gives one of the exercises in it, long story short, and it is phenomenal. She talks you into how to let your body that keeps the score, but then since she wrote that so early on, she didn't have the brain part with it. And I think the book Body Keeps the Score came out, say 15, 20 years ago. So it started talking more about the brain. So really it's the brain body connection. The brain puts out these chemicals after it's stimulated from the body, the eyes, ears, taste, skin, touch, right? So this is a way to process getting through, not allowing the map to do its thing, but allowing the body to process the old response. It's kind of a little more complicated than I have the intelligence to narrate. And it is a little almost woo-woo, because I understand the brain more, the brain response. The fact, though, that it's almost like magic to me, that the body keeps the score. For instance, if a fly lands on your arm, when I was younger, I was like, ew, gross, because I read about how nasty flies are. Useless as far as I'm concerned. But they would give me the jeebies. I go through all of this stuff. And then as I started my practice of not being overstimulated, and if I were highly stimulated, pay attention to it and ask myself, is this really a dangerous situation? And so I'm not gonna do anything with my hair. It's laundry day, baby. So I got to where a fly landing on me doesn't give me the heebie-jeebies anymore. I've already had those thoughts so many times over and over and over again. Why spend all that energy having that same response? It's not cute. It's not attractive. It's not getting the fly away from me any faster. It's certainly not getting the fly to not come back to me because I was mean and creeped out. It's just like, now it's just, I know they'll usually hit and leave. So why even respond at all? And if it's sitting there sucking on my skin, I'm going to bat it away, just like a mosquito, what have you. It's really reduced my stress level immensely. So now my body just doesn't automatically respond to being touched too much, right? I can slow down enough to recognize the intention, right? There are some people who say, "Ooh, I don't like being touched. Ooh, I don't like being hugged. Ooh, or different things that they just can't tolerate." There are some things I'm still working on, but that's one of them that I'm not. It's not such a challenge for me like it used to be. Well, I guess I about talked out. So I guess I've been on here a while. I guess I could go and do some laundry. Maybe start some food prep. Last time I was at the grocery store, I bought what department? I hardly ever go to this department. Was it in the salad dressings? Because I usually just use salt, a little bit of salt on my salads, or vinegar and oil. Hardly, or I might get fancy and put some oregano Italian mix on it for my spice drawer. But it was an envelope, a plastic envelope that you usually buy like walnuts in or something, but this was a salad mix. So it was a mix of different nuts and spices. So I had that on one of my salads recently. Oh my God, I was in heaven. Rose, hi. Oh, thank you, Rose. I love you. I love you too, Denise and Diana and Anna. I mean, y'all have just been such a wonderful support to me. And really, aw, I love that. Well, I do remember the sweet messages um, from you ladies, and fairly consistently. And I'm telling you, it's amazing how you've helped me. I started this channel because I was lonely. I was lonely. Through the pandemic, it taught me that a lot of people kind of went batshit crazy because they weren't socializing. They didn't have anybody to talk to bounce ideas off of. You know, kind of like a couple of you ladies have helped me with this flag thing even. If that had happened during the pandemic and I hadn't opened up and talked about it, just to powwow, you know, it's not like I have to have a great big problem to discuss or talk about. It's just being able to throw things out there. That's what I love about Rose's channel. She'll talk about different little things, her family, and how she found different interesting things that she's experimenting with or that she's been consistent with. And it's just like I like to hear the essence of our personalities, sharing that life experience, you know, just the humanness that we all have. So, all right, I'm dragging out goodbyes. You know, I do that. I drag out goodbyes all the time. Oh, and I told my sis Chris that she and I need to figure out how. It looks like you can add somebody to a live. I don't know for sure yet. Um, and it took days for my last live to come on board. So I'm not quite sure why or if I did something wrong. I know the very first one I did, somehow it was on private instead of public. And then the second one I put public, just like I did this time, but it took several days for it to come on. Maybe because it was so long. I don't know. Ugh, sounds like the house is getting restless. I better get going. The laundry is piling up. Go through a lot of laundry every week. I don't know why. I don't know how it happens. All right. I love y'all. And I'll do this again soon. It's too fun not to. Okay. Mwah. Bye for now.